Hi, my name's Dan. I'm an education and training lead at GamCare, but I also have lived experience of gambling related harm, and I'm going to share my experiences with you today. Now, I started gambling just after I turned 18, and it was a really positive and fun experience for me to begin with. I'd go off with my friends, put bets on the football that was happening at the weekend, and if our bets won, we were over the moon, we could go out and have a really good night out. If they lost, wasn't the end of the world, we could still have a really enjoyable weekend. Now that's what my weekends were like. During the week, I was working as hard as I could to get the grades I needed to be able to go off to university. And I got the grades, and I was so excited for so many reasons. But the big one for me was it was an opportunity for me to go and meet loads of new people. And I did. And by doing that, it introduced me to lots of different aspects of university life. Now, through my entire first year, I was still gambling, but for most of it, it wasn't too dangerous and it wasn't too damaging. However, towards the end of my first year, I was in the library with one of my best friends, and he was playing blackjack online. And as he was playing blackjack, I was watching him and I was thinking about how I could do this and make some extra cash. Now, I hadn't used my student overdraft at the time, but what I had done was spent quite a bit of my student loan. But my plan was to use my student overdraft to cover my rent and my bills for the summer. Now, as my friend was playing blackjack, I set up my account and started playing as well. And after the first couple of days, I had made a decent amount of money. But within a couple of weeks, I'd maxed out my entire overdraft. So it meant I was going back to university in September, owing about 6 months' rent, and having all of these other bills piling up on top of me. And a letter came through the door explaining this to my parents. And I had to have a really open and honest conversation with them about my gambling and about the amount of money that I'd lost. Now, you'd think that a conversation like that would stop me gambling, but if anything, it went up a level from there. I started using payday loans, I started using credit cards, borrowing from friends, borrowing from family, and just being absolutely desperate in different ways to be able to get money together to gamble. And I stopped caring about my university work. I wasn't going to my lectures, I wasn't going to my classes, I wasn't handing my work in on time, sometimes I didn't even bother handing it in at all. And if you were to ask people about me at that point in my life, they wouldn't have a very nice thing to say about me. And it actually led to me failing my second year at university. And once I failed my second year, I had a decision to make. Do I want to drop out of university and find a job, or do I want to resit the year? And I decided that I wanted to find the job. Now, it took me about 6 months to find a job. Now, this wasn't because I didn't have a really good CV, or I wasn't applying for lots of jobs. It's purely because gambling took over my entire life. If I was awake for 18 hours of the day, every single minute of the day I was thinking about gambling. It would be the first thing I think of in the morning and the last thing I think of before I go to bed. And I was completely obsessive with it. By this point, I was stealing from my parents, stealing from my sisters, selling things at home that I had no right selling, and doing whatever it took to be able to get the money together that I needed to put my bets on. And as I said, it took about 6 months and I got a job. And the job I got, I was over the moon to be doing. It was an opportunity to work with some of the most vulnerable young people in the country and give them the additional support they needed with things like cooking, cleaning, budgeting, and just day-to-day adult life so to help them prepare for their next steps. And I loved the job, but I loved gambling more. Gambling was by far the most important thing in my life. Every single day when I was going to work, I was either gambling or thinking about how I was getting money to be able to gamble. And at the end of my first month, I got paid. And when I got paid, I said to myself, I'm not gambling a single penny. Within 3 hours, I gambled every single penny that I had earned. So it meant that I had no money to pay off any of my debts, I had no money to pay off any of my rent, I didn't even have a fiver to put on my Oyster card to get to work that night. I went in home, I spoke to my parents, and by this point, they were really fed up and disappointed with everything that had happened. And my mum said something to me that will stick with me for the rest of my life. She turned around and said to me that it doesn't matter anyway because I'm never going to stop gambling. I went into work that evening and there was an envelope on the side. Now this envelope, I opened it and I took the money out and I decided to go off towards the betting shop and put some bets on. And as I was playing roulette, I was thinking about all the things I was going to do with my winnings, whether it be buy a new car, pay off my debts, or take my parents away on holiday. 15 minutes after playing roulette, I'd lost every single penny in that envelope. So I was walking out of the betting shop with 3 very different thoughts going through my head. First of all, I was thinking about the fact that everyone was going to find out I was an awful human being. Secondly, I was thinking about the fact that I was going to lose my job and I was never going to be able to work with young people ever again. And thirdly, the most important thought going through my head was thinking about the fact that I was going to go to prison. I'd stolen from work, I'd put myself in I'd taken from the most vulnerable young people in the country and didn't care about the damage I was doing. As I was walking back towards the office, there was a train station, and I spent between half an hour and 45 minutes stood at the train station, genuinely considering whether or not I was going to take my own life. Thankfully, I didn't do that. I went back to the office, I spoke to my parents, and they dropped the money off that evening. And then the following evening, I went to a support group and started to make some significant changes in my life. Now that's the level of impact that gambling had on me, where I started out just having some fun with my friends to the point where I considered taking my own life. And if it gets to that level of damage for you, that's where Big Deal can step in and give you a real big helping hand.